I arranged the graduate school applications in a precise fan across my kitchen table, the letterheads forming a rainbow of academic promises. Princeton, Columbia, Georgetown. My fingertips trace the embossed insignias while my laptop screen glows with my meticulously crafted budget spreadsheet. The numbers don't lie. Tuition, $52,600. Housing, $18,400. Books and supplies, $3,200. The total stares back at me, daunting but manageable thanks to the $85,000 education fund my grandmother established before she passed last spring. "You have your grandmother's mind," she'd told me once, her papery hand squeezing mine. "Sharp as a tack. Use it for something that matters." My phone feels heavy in my palm as I dial. The spreadsheet's neat columns shimmer through a sudden film of tears, not sadness, but anticipation. After years of putting my own dreams aside, the path forward is finally clear. Dad answers on the third ring. "Madison, how's my responsible daughter today?" "Hi, Dad. I'm actually calling about Grandma's education fund." My voice rises with genuine excitement for the first time in months. I've narrowed down my grad school choices, and I need to discuss accessing the money for the deposits. The silence that follows stretches one beat too long. "Dad, are you there?" Yes. His voice drops half an octave. "About that fund, there have been some, temporary family adjustments." My stomach clenches. "What kind of adjustments?" The rustle of the phone being passed. Mom's voice now, falsely bright. "Madison, honey, the timing of this call is... Well, we were planning to discuss this with you soon." "Discuss what?" "The education fund." She clears her throat. "That money's gone to your sister's condo." The room tilts sideways. "What?" "Brooke and Travis needed a decent place, and the market was just perfect. You know how real estate opportunities work, strike while the iron's hot." Mom's words rush together. They found this adorable 3-bedroom in Oakwood Hills with a pool access, and my education fund paid for Brooke's condo? Each word feels like glass in my throat. "Now don't be dramatic." Dad's voice again. "Speakerphone now. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Student loans exist for a reason." My hands tremble so violently I nearly drop the phone. Blood pounds in my ears. The applications on my table blur into meaningless colored rectangles. "Madison, are you there?" Mom's voice seems to come from miles away. A memory surfaces with cruel clarity. Brooke, age 12, twirling in a brand new Easter dress, while I wore her outgrown one from the previous year. Madison doesn't mind. Mom had told the questioning church ladies. She's not fussy about clothes like her sister. Another flash. Dad beaming at Brooke's class in algebra while my straight. A report card sat unacknowledged on the refrigerator. "Your sister needs more encouragement with academics," he'd explained when I finally asked why. The pattern stretches back through my entire childhood. 2 daughters. 2 standards. Madison the reliable one. Madison the low-maintenance one. Madison who never needed attention because she always figured things out on her own. How long? My voice sounds foreign to my own ears. "How long have you been taking money from the fund?" Dad sighs. "Now, Maddie." "How long?" "About 18 months, Mom admits. Small transfers at first, then the bulk for the down payment in February. 3 months after Grandma died. While I was still writing thank you notes for funeral flowers, that money was legally designated for my education." My knuckles whiten around the phone. "Grandma established it specifically for my master's degree." "Oh, honey." Mom's laugh holds a dismissive edge. "It's not like we robbed a bank. It's family money being used for family. It was my inheritance." "And what exactly are you going to do about it?" Dad's tone hardens. "Sue your own parents?" The word lands like a revelation. Sue. Legal action. Consequences. If necessary, yes. Their laughter is simultaneous and genuine. It cuts deeper than their words. "With what money?" Dad asks. "Don't be dramatic, it's family." I end the call without another word. The applications stare up at me from the table, mocking my careful planning. The spreadsheet glows from my laptop, each number now a monument to my naivety. The future I'd mapped out dissolves before my eyes. My hands stop trembling. What would you do if the people who should protect your future were the ones who destroyed it? Would you walk away to keep the peace or fight back with everything you have? I close my laptop with a quiet click of finality. They're about to discover exactly what their responsible daughter is capable of. I wipe the last tear from my face as the elevator doors open to our office floor. No more crying. Grandma wouldn't have wallowed. She would have acted. My cubicle feels like a sanctuary after 3 sleepless nights. I spread Grandma's papers across my desk, bank statements, legal documents, handwritten notes. My fingers trace her elegant script. Education fund for Madison Elizabeth Anderson. Not a penny for Brooke, not a cent for a condo with pool access. The clock reads 7:15 a.m., 2 hours before anyone arrives. Perfect. I create a new folder on my computer. Betrayal documentation. Harsh? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. Into it go scanned copies of every relevant document, followed by a meticulous timeline of conversations. Each entry stings like reopening a wound. The 12th of January. Dad promised to set up fund access after tax season. The 8th of February. Mom mentioned temporary family borrowing. The 15th of March. Discovery of complete fund liquidation for Brooke's condo. A shadow falls across my keyboard. I slam my laptop shut. Early bird catches the evidence. Lorraine Chen, my boss, 60-something with salt and pepper haircut and a no-nonsense bob. I hadn't heard her come in. Just organizing some personal papers, I mumble. She sets a coffee cup beside me, the good stuff from the cafe downstairs, not the office sludge. People with nothing to hide don't jump when their boss appears. She leans against my desk. What's wrong, Madison? Something in her steady gaze breaks my carefully constructed dam. The story spills out in halting sentences. Lorraine doesn't interrupt, doesn't offer empty platitudes. When I finish, she simply asks, "May I?" and gestures to the bank statements. Her eyes narrow as she reads, "Did you know I practiced estate law for 20 years before switching to policy work?" I shake my head. This, she taps the document with a manicured finger, is misappropriation of designated funds. Your grandmother created a legal instrument with specific terms. Your parents violated those terms. They're still my parents, I whisper. Lorraine's face softens momentarily, then hardens. And you were their child to protect. 3 days later, we sit at a corner table in the bistro across from our office building. Lorraine pushes aside her half-eaten salad and pulls out a legal pad. First, we document everything: bank transfers, verbal statements, written communications. Second, we determine if your grandmother established the fund through a trust or simply designated accounts. Third, we explore legal remedies. My stomach knots. Legal remedies against my own family. Your family acted against you first, Lorraine reminds me. The question is whether you'll let them get away with it. Back home that evening, I dig deeper into Grandma's papers. Among her address book pages, a business card slides out. Vincent Anderson, senior partner, Prescott and Anderson Legal Group. My father's brother. The one who disappeared from family gatherings after some mysterious dad years ago. My finger hovers over the LinkedIn message button for 10 minutes before I type. Uncle Vince, this is Madison. I need to discuss something regarding Grandma's estate. Could we speak privately? I hit send, expecting days of silence. My phone rings 17 minutes later. Madison. His voice sounds eerily like Dad's, but sharper, more precise. I've been waiting for someone to notice. Notice what? The irregularities. Your father's sudden lifestyle improvements. The new car. Brooke's condo announcement. The timing after Mother's passing seemed convenient. My heart pounds. You suspected? I've been watching from a distance for years. Your father has a history of financial creativity. I couldn't prove anything until now. 2 days later, I sit in an imposing conference room at Prescott and Anderson. Uncle Vince looks nothing like the vague memories from my childhood, taller, leaner, with calculating eyes that miss nothing. The forensic accountant, he's brought in slides, a folder across the polished table. We've identified multiple unauthorized transfers beginning 18 months ago. Small amounts at first, 5,000 here, 10,000 there, accelerating after your grandmother's death. Vince taps the timeline. They started before Mother died, while she was still in hospice care. The room spins. Before she died? How? Your father had her power of attorney during her final months. He abused it. There's more, says the silver-haired woman beside Vince. We've accessed communications between your sister and her fiancé. She passes me a printed email. Brooke's name at the top. My vision blurs as I read. Mom says Madison won't need it anyway. She's always figured things out herself. Besides, she's only talking about grad school because she hasn't found a husband yet. My hands tremble. Not just theft dismissal of everything I value. We have enough for a civil suit, Vince says quietly. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? This will fracture your family irreparably. They fractured it, I whisper. I'm just exposing the break. My phone buzzes with a text from Lorraine. My home office is yours if you need neutral ground. I've been in your shoes. Justice matters. Another message appears from Sarah, my friend since college. Whatever you're going through, I'm here. No questions asked if you don't want them. Then, most unexpectedly, an email from Mrs. Winters, Grandma's home health nurse. Your grandmother spoke often of your educational aspirations. She was explicit about her wishes for that money. I'd be willing to provide a sworn statement if needed. I look up at the faces around the conference table, professional strangers, and a once distant uncle, now united in my corner. For the first time in days, I don't feel alone. What's the next step? I ask, my voice steadier than I expect. Vince smiles, a small, grim expression, nothing like my father's easy charm. Now we show them that the quiet one in the family finally has something to say. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted completely had betrayed you? The moment Madison realizes the depth of her family's deception will leave you breathless. Share in the comments if you've ever had to make the painful choice between family peace and personal justice. My phone vibrates for the 18th time today. The Anderson family group chat has erupted into a volcano of concern, guilt, and thinly veiled threats. I slide the phone face down on my coffee table and turn back to the stack of legal documents. Uncle Vince's attorney had couriered them over with instructions to review before tomorrow's meeting. The phone buzzes again, then chimes with a voicemail. Against my better judgment, I press play. Madison. Mom's voice breaks, a theatrical catch that used to send me running to fix whatever was wrong. Family matters should stay private. You've always understood that. Whatever this is about, we can discuss it without strangers involved. Call me back, honey. Please. Delete. My finger hovers over the group chat. 27 unread messages. The preview shows fragments, completely unreasonable, and after everything we've done, and your sister is devastated. The phone rings Dad's direct line. I answer before I can think better of it. Madison Elizabeth Anderson. His voice carries that specific timbre of paternal authority that once made my shoulders curl inward. There are consequences to disloyalty that you haven't considered. Like what? My voice emerges steadier than I feel. That job of yours? 3 calls to the right people and... Are you threatening me? His sigh rushes through the speaker. Don't be dramatic. I'm stating facts. Actions have consequences. Think about what you're doing to this family. I end the call and block his number. 10 minutes later, Brooke texts separately from the group. Travis and I might lose our dream home because of you. Is that what you want? To destroy your sister's future? I set the phone down and stare at the wall. The irony sits bitter on my tongue. Rain patters against my apartment windows. I've been sitting in the same spot for 2 hours, the lawyer's business card in one hand, phone in the other. My thumb hovers over the delete contact button. A knock at the door startles me. Sarah stands in the hallway with a bag from our favorite Thai restaurant and a concerned expression. You didn't answer any texts, so I figured. She holds up the food. Pad C shoe, extra broccoli. I step aside. Sarah spots the legal papers on my coffee table, the lawyer's card in my hand. You were about to back out, she says, not a question. I sink into the couch. They're still my family. Sarah unpacks containers with deliberate movements. My therapist calls what your parents do reactive abuse. They push and push until you finally react, then paint you as the villain. It's just money, I whisper. It's not, though. She sets a plate in front of me. It's 27 years of being the family doormat. It's your grandmother's wishes. It's your future. The next morning, a package waits at my apartment door. Inside, a hardcover notebook bound in forest green leather. The first page holds Lorraine's precise handwriting. Your future, your terms. I trace the letters, remembering my boss's face when I'd finally broken down in her office. The education fund story spilling out between sobs. Because you thought it made you strong. Lorraine had said when I admitted my lifelong silence. But silence isn't strength, Madison. It's permission. My silence enabled them. For 27 years, I'd swallowed their favoritism, accepted their excuses, believed their gaslighting. I'd been the good daughter who never complained, never demanded, never fought back. Not anymore. Vince's law firm occupies the top floor of the Hawthorne building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city skyline as the forensic accountant clicks through her presentation. The timeline is irrefutable, she says, pointing to the spreadsheet projected on the wall. The first unauthorized transfer occurred 18 months ago, a test amount of $2,500. The evidence lays bare every manipulation, every lie. Bank records show withdrawals began 3 months before grandmother even passed. Power of attorney documents bear signatures with questionable authenticity. They started stealing before she died? My voice sounds distant to my own ears, and accelerated once you began asking questions. The accountant highlights a series of rapid transactions. When you mentioned the fund last month, they immediately began transferring assets between accounts, converting others to your sister's name. Vince's hand covers mine briefly. There's more. The lawyer slides a phone across the table, a text exchange between Travis and my father. Travis, should we mention the house at dinner? Madison might ask where the money came from. Dad, say nothing. She knows it's her grandmother's money, but she won't make waves. She never does. My throat tightens. We also found this. The lawyer gently places a leather-bound journal before me. My grandmother's distinctive handwriting fills the pages. The 12th of October, spoke with the attorney about Madison's education fund. She has her grandfather's mind for policy. The master's program will give her the credentials she needs. I've made it clear the money is only for her education. Robert and Diane tried to suggest it should be split between the girls, but I was firm. Brooke has always been their priority. Madison will be mine. Tears blur my vision. The settlement offer arrives by courier 3 days later. A payment plan, a formal apology, an offer to help Brooke and Travis find more appropriate housing. That same day, my aunt calls to warn me about the family intervention planned at my apartment that evening. Your mother's invited the pastor and her bridge club friends. They're planning to ambush you at 6. I don't go home. Instead, I sit in Vince's study, watching rain stream down his windows while he makes us both tea. The settlement isn't terrible, he admits, sliding the papers toward me. You could walk away, take the money, let them save face. For a moment, I waver. The lifetime habit of keeping peace nearly overwhelms me. What would you do? I ask. Vince sets down his cup. It's not about what I would do, it's about what your grandmother wanted for you. I need to do this. The words solidify something inside me. Not just for me, but for Grandma's wishes. For what's right. In that moment, I feel her presence not in some mystical way, but in the straightening of my spine, the lifting of my chin. I push the settlement papers away. Let's schedule the hearing, I say. And Vince? Let's make sure it's in the larger courtroom, the one with plenty of public seating. Vince's eyes widen slightly, then crinkle at the corners. He reaches for his phone. They say the quiet ones surprise you the most. My family never imagined their sensible daughter would stand up to them. They're about to learn just how wrong they've been. I step through the courthouse doors wearing Grandma's cameo pinned to the lapel of my simple black dress. The weight of it against my chest steadies me as I scan the marble lobby. My lawyer, Sharon, checks her watch and nods toward the elevators. Ready? The courtroom doors swing open, and a wave of murmurs crashes over me. The gallery is packed not just with the expected legal teams, but with faces I recognize from every corner of my parents' carefully curated social life. Pastor Michaels from First Baptist, Mrs. Winthrop from Mom's Bridge Club, 3 members of the church finance committee. They shift in their seats, eyes sliding away when I meet their gaze. My parents arrive 7 minutes late, Dad in his golf tournament blazer, Mom in a cream St. John knit suit. Brooke trails behind them, holding Travis's hand like she's being led to her execution. Judge Harriman peers over her glasses. Anderson versus Anderson, case number 47,291. Sharon rises, placing 3 binders on the evidence table. The projector casts bank statements onto the wall. Red circles highlight transaction after transaction, arrows connecting them to my parents' accounts, to Brooke's mortgage documents. Dad shifts in his seat. His attorney, a country club friend named Walter, with thinning hair, shuffles papers without making eye contact. Mrs. Anderson, Judge Harriman says when it's my mother's turn, did your mother-in-law explicitly state that this fund was for Madison's graduate education? Mom smooths her skirt. Well, Mother Anderson had many conversations about the children's futures, very general conversations. Sharon approaches with a document. This notarized letter from 2017 seems quite specific about Madison's master's degree. Mom's foundation cracks. A flush creeps up her neck as she reads. Yes, but families adjust priorities as circumstances change. Elizabeth would have understood. Did she understand before she died? Or did you make these adjustments after she was no longer able to object? I testify next, my voice steadier than expected. I describe finding the grad school applications, making the phone call, the slow dawning horror as I realized what had happened. And what was your father's response when you mentioned potential legal action? I meet Dad's eyes across the courtroom. He laughed. They both did. He said, with what money? A soft gasp ripples through the gallery. Dad's testimony unravels like a cheap sweater. He claims the transfers were temporary, contradicting sworn statements about their permanence. He insists Grandma verbally amended her wishes, then admits under cross-examination that this conversation happened after her stroke. First National's bank manager takes the stand next, her gray suit as crisp as her testimony. We noticed unusual pattern shifts in the trust account beginning 18 months ago. Large withdrawals occurred immediately following Mrs. Elizabeth Anderson's hospitalization. Did you flag these transactions? Sharon asks. We attempted to contact the primary account holder, but by then she was unable to communicate clearly. Travis fidgets during his testimony, pulling at his collar. Sharon shows him a credit card statement. 3 days after receiving the down payment funds, you purchased a boat? He glances at Brooke, then back at his hands. We figured more money would come if we needed it. Her parents always covered Brooke's stuff. Brooke testifies last, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. Did you know the source of the funds for your condominium purchase? Mom and Dad said it was family money. And you didn't question why your sister's education fund was suddenly available for your housing needs? Brooke glances at her parents, then back at her lap. We thought she'd just get over it. Madison always does. The words hang in the air like smoke. Judge Harriman returns from recess, her face granite. I'm issuing an immediate freeze on all assets belonging to Richard and Patricia Anderson pending final judgment. Furthermore, I'm placing a temporary lien on their primary residence. Dad's face drains of color. This court takes the misappropriation of designated trust funds extremely seriously. As we file out, Pastor Michael steps toward me, not my parents. Madison, when you're ready to talk. Mrs. Winthrop turns her back when Mom tries to speak to her. Uncle Vince, waiting silently in the back row, gives me a single, affirming nod. In the hallway, Walter corners Sharon. We need to discuss settlement options. Immediately. They sequester us in a conference room. My parents sit across from me, smaller somehow than they were this morning. A full repayment plan, Walter offers, with interest and a public apology. Mom reaches across the table. For the first time since this began, her eyes hold something besides indignation, something that might be genuine regret. Maddie, please, we made a terrible mistake. I look at her manicured hand, remembering how it used to smooth my hair when I had nightmares. How it later waved away my achievements while applauding Brooke's smallest efforts. The time for that was before this began. I stand, gathering my purse. Mom's whisper follows me to the door. What happens to us now? The question hangs between us like a sentence neither of us can finish. The courthouse air conditioning hums with mechanical precision as I smooth my navy pencil skirt and adjust Grandma's cameo pin. 3 weeks of depositions, evidence submissions, and sleepless nights have led to this moment. My reflection in the polished wooden table shows someone I barely recognize as shoulders back, chin high, eyes clear. Across the aisle, Mom and Dad huddle with their attorney. Dad's collar hangs loose around his neck. He's lost weight. Mom's usually perfect hair phrase at the edges, her foundation failing to hide the shadows beneath her eyes. The empty chairs beside them speak volumes. Brooke texted last night. This is your vendetta. We refuse to participate. Travis and she fled to his parents' lake house, accountability left behind like unwanted baggage. All rise. Judge Peterson enters with purposeful strides, her silver-streaked hair pulled back severely. The gallery rustles faces I've known my entire life filling the rows. Mrs. Kavanaugh from the church social committee. Mr. Wallace from the country club board. Principal Reeves, who hired Brooke straight out of college. After reviewing the evidence presented in Anderson, this court finds clear and incontrovertible evidence of flagrant abuse of trust. Judge Peterson removes her reading glasses, addressing my parents directly. What makes this case particularly disturbing is not merely the financial transgression, but the calculated manipulation of a familial relationship. The court orders immediate repayment of the full $85,000, plus 8% compound interest from the date of first unauthorized withdrawal. She pauses. Additionally, the defendants shall cover all legal expenses incurred by the plaintiff and punitive damages in the amount of $25,000 for breach of fiduciary duty. A collective intake of breath ripples through the gallery. Given the defendant's financial situation, the court orders the family residence at 1,432 Oakwood Drive be listed for sale within 14 days, with proceeds directed first to satisfy this judgment. Mom sways in her seat. Dad catches her elbow, his knuckles white. The gavel cracks like summer thunder. It's over. I don't realize I'm crying until Uncle Vince silently passes me his handkerchief. Not tears of triumph, just quiet acknowledgement that Grandma's wishes have finally been honored. Outside on the courthouse steps, Aunt Lydia, Mom's sister, approaches with hesitant steps, then deliberately walks to my side. Your grandmother would be proud. Her voice wavers. She always said you had steel in your spine. Mom stops halfway down the steps, mouth opening and closing like a fish stranded on shore. 3 days later, a certified envelope arrives at my apartment. Inside, a formal letter on First Presbyterian letterhead. After careful consideration, the church leadership committee has voted unanimously to remove Richard and Catherine Anderson from all leadership positions, effective immediately. Mrs. Kavanaugh's signature, precise and black, anchors the bottom of the page. That same afternoon, Mr. Wallace calls. Thought you should hear it from me, Madison. The country club board met this morning. Your parents' membership has been, well, revoked. 32 years, gone in a 15-minute vote. I drive past Brooke and Travis's condo after work. A foreclosure notice flutters on their door. Through the windows, cardboard boxes stack haphazardly. Principal Reeves didn't waste time. Brooke's classroom already reassigned after the ethics review. We cannot employ educators who demonstrate such significant lapses in judgment, the board concluded. Wildwood Amusement Park reached similar conclusions about Travis, his supervisor citing character concerns incompatible with our family values. The sky darkens as I drive across town to my childhood home. I park across the street, watching strangers in business attire measure and assess. Dad stands in the driveway, arms crossed tight across his chest as a woman in a crimson blazer gestures toward the roof. Behind them, Mom moves from window to window inside the house, touching curtains she sewed 30 years ago. The home where I learned to walk, where Dad built that ridiculous garden trellis that collapsed during my high school graduation party. A beat-up moving truck sits in the neighbor's driveway, discount movers stenciled on its side. Beside it, folding tables display crystal bowls, silver candlesticks, and the grandfather clock that chimed through my childhood. A hand-lettered sign reads, "Estate sale, everything must go." Mom emerges with a banker's box labeled photo albums, her steps unsteady on the porch steps. On the passenger seat of her car, rental applications for Sycamore Gardens, the one-bedroom units in Westfield's lowest income neighborhood. The complex sits behind the petting zoo where Travis now shovels hay, the only place that would hire him. Dad glances up, somehow sensing my presence despite the distance and gathering darkness. Our eyes lock across the quiet street. For one suspended moment, I see recognition in his face, not of his daughter, but of actions that cannot be undone. A notification pings my phone an email from Georgetown, confirming my enrollment deposit has been received. My future waits, stretched out like an unwritten page. They say karma comes when you least expect it. I never wanted destruction, just justice. But some actions set off consequences that can't be controlled. As my family's comfortable world collapses around them, I face my hardest question yet. Was it worth it? The streetlights flicker on as I head home, illuminating the path forward one light at a time. Sunlight breaks through my bedroom blinds, casting golden bars across the acceptance letter framed on my wall. Princeton University, Master of Public Administration. 3 months into my first semester, and the letterhead still makes my breath catch every morning. I trace the edge of my grandmother's photo beside it. "We did it," I whisper, straightening her silver frame exactly parallel to my merit scholarship certificate. The award covers what her education fund should have a different path to the same destination. My phone buzzes. Not the old number my parents still call weekly, but my new one, known only to people who've earned my trust. "Ready for tomorrow's presentation?" Uncle Vince asks when I answer. "Almost. Just finishing the section on trust protection clauses." I adjust the cameo pin at my throat, the one possession of Grandma's I wouldn't sell to help finance tuition. The committee will be impressed. Not many first years tackle financial reform legislation. Experience is a thorough teacher, I say, the words falling into the comfortable rhythm we've established since he became my ally. After we hang up, I stand at my apartment window. From here, I can see the distant clock tower where I'll present tomorrow. My reflection overlays the campus view, shoulders squared, chin lifted. A posture unrecognizable to anyone who knew me a year ago. 4 blocks away, in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, my parents unpack groceries from the discount market. Dad sorts coupons with the same hands that once signed away my future, without hesitation. Mom washes dishes while watching Travis walk dogs at the petting zoo, visible through their kitchen window. The condo they bought, Brookney Condo, in truth stands empty now, foreclosure notice taped to its door. According to Sarah, who still follows my sister online, Brooke's social media has devolved into lengthy pleas for sympathy that meet increasingly cold responses. My parents' apartment doesn't even have room for a dining table. They eat at a card table, surrounded by the few possessions that weren't sold to satisfy the judgment. Dad's golf clubs are gone. Mom's porcelain figurines, too. The family portrait that once dominated their living room wall now hangs crooked in their narrow hallway. I don't feel the vindication I expected. Just quiet certainty that consequences have found their proper homes. To Madison's first semester. Lorraine raises her glass across the restaurant table. Her celebration dinner marks the end of my first month of classes. The small victories matter now. To allies who become family, Uncle Vince adds, his eyes crinkling with genuine pride. Sarah squeezes my hand under the table. Her weekly video calls have anchored me through the transition, her friendship a constant, while everything else shifted. The waiter brings a small package, another card from my grandmother's bridge club, women who've rallied around her memory and my fresh start. 6 months ago, I faced my family's betrayal alone. Now support surrounds me from directions I never anticipated. Dr. Keaton's office smells of leather and lemon polish. I sit in the same chair every Tuesday, working through family tangles that once seemed impossible to unravel. You wrote about boundaries this week, she notes, gesturing to my journal. They're not walls, I say, surprising myself with the insight. They're more like property lines, clear markers of what's mine to protect. She nods. And the anger? I consider this less sharp, still there but not consuming everything else. Later, walking across campus, I stop to watch a cardinal land on a snow-covered branch. Simple beauty breaks through, a moment of joy that doesn't feel stolen or temporary, just mine. So, if a trust specifies educational purposes, the funds can't legally be redirected without proper documentation and consent. I explain to the community college classroom. 20 students, mostly women, mostly older, scribble notes. My volunteer work at the financial literacy program wasn't required for my degree. I chose it anyway. A young woman raises her hand. How do you know all this stuff about inheritance protection? The question hangs in the air. My throat tightens. Experience, I finally answer, is the most expensive teacher. At my desk, the small shrine I've created holds my grandmother's photograph and her favorite saying, handwritten and framed. Education is the one thing no one can take away from you. Beside it lies notification of my summer internship with the Family Financial Protection Coalition. My first paper on educational trust legislation received the highest grade in my cohort. I touch the cameo at my throat, feeling its familiar contours. Tomorrow, I'll stand before a classroom as a teaching assistant for the first time. In the window's reflection, I almost see my grandmother standing behind me, her hand on my shoulder. Some lessons aren't in any textbook, I whisper to her ghost, but they're the ones that truly educate us.